What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out one of the latest e-bikes from Engwe. The one that we have here today, it's called the EP-2 Pro, and I have this one in orange, and I feel that the orange color looks the best out of the three colors available, even though the black one does look pretty good as well. Talking about the black one, so what I have behind me here is the Engwe Engine Pro. And yes, this is the more expensive model out of the two, and since I've been riding this one for about 2 years, I can also show you the differences between these two bikes. However, for the price of this one, because this one retails for about $1,000, I feel that this one offers really good value. So we have a 750 watt motor in the rear wheel here. We also have 20-inch wheels, and these are 4-inch wide tires. So that fat tire look, I'm gonna say, and yes, that makes the bike look as it looks, because it does look a bit different than all the other bikes out there. On one charge you can get up to 100 kilometers depending how you ride the bike, but we'll talk more about them later on in the video. So let's start by doing a bit of an unboxing, just so I can show you how the bike comes wrapped in the box and what you have to do to put this together basically and take it on the road. Okay, so as you'd expect, we get a pretty big box. The box is also pretty heavy. Keep in mind that the bike itself weighs 34 kilos. And yes, this is a foldable bike as well, but carrying around 34 kilos is gonna be a bit hard. So the bike comes packed really well in the box, so no scratches anywhere, no damage, but you do have to do a bit of an installation when you take this out of the box. So first you have to put a handlebar together. This is a bit awkward to install. It's gonna take you a while to figure it out how to do it. The handlebar, once installed, is also adjustable in height, so you can move this higher or lower. I find that very useful. You have to put together the front wheel, the mudguard on the front here, and of course the light here. And at the end you're gonna have to put together the rack that we have on the back here and the light. All together is gonna take you about an hour to get this ready and on the road. So a bit longer than most other bikes. Oh, you also have to put the pedals together, and the pedals are also foldable. They're also made out of a combination of metal and plastic. Now, I do prefer the pedals from the Engine Pro, because those ones are entirely made out of metal. Alright, so one big difference between the EP-2 Pro here and the Engine Pro that I have behind me is the fact that this one only gets a suspension on the front. With the Engine Pro, you get a suspension on the front and one on the back. Now, because we do have these massive tires on the front and on the back, those will actually soak up most of the bumps on the road. So even though we don't have a rear suspension, you can't really actually feel the difference in between these two bikes that much, because, as I said, those tires will definitely help a lot with absorbing shocks, bumps, and whatever there is on the road. Another small difference that I've noticed between these two bikes is the height of the pedals. So the pedals on the EP-2 Pro here are slightly higher than the pedals on the Engine Pro, and that makes a difference mostly when you're riding and you go into corners, because I did notice riding the Engine Pro, whenever you go into corners and you lean a bit too much, sometimes you do touch the ground with the pedals. Well, that doesn't seem to be the case with these ones, so I like the pedal setup that we get on the EP-2 Pro here. Next on the list are the brakes. So with this one we get mechanical disc brakes on the front and on the back. With the Engine Pro we do get hydraulic disc brakes, and I have to say there is a big difference for the braking power from this bike compared to the other ones. So the brakes on this one, I'm gonna say they're kind of mediocre, where the brakes on the other one are pretty impressive. So yes, I'm not the biggest fan of these brakes, not to mention that they do squeak quite a lot. So fairly mediocre brakes on this one. And since we're talking about the brakes, let me quickly show you how the brakes work. So we're coming down on this hill. I'm gonna start braking. You can probably hear the brakes squeaking. So I'm not the biggest fan of these brakes. Sure, they will stop the bike, but they're not as good as the brakes that we get on the Engine Pro. The rack that we have on the back here also weighs less than the one that we had on the Engine Pro, And this one also doesn't make any noise. The rack on the back of the Engine Pro did make quite a bit of noise. Now, moving on to seats. Even though the seats do look fairly similar, I find the seat on the Engine Pro more comfortable. I believe that one actually has some springs in it. Well, maybe this one has some springs too, but that seat is more comfortable. But comparing this bike with most other bicycles that I tried, yes, this one has one of the most comfortable seats out there. But the seat on the Engine Pro is a bit more comfortable. Just like the handlebar, this seat is also adjustable in height, so you can move it that low or this high. So this bike will fit pretty much any size, and the riding position is also extremely comfortable because you can adjust the height of that handlebar. So whenever you're riding the bicycle, you can sit in a straight position. You don't have to put pressures on your wrists or anything like that. So the riding comfort that you get from these bikes is way better than a lot of bikes that I got to try up until now. This bike has an entry-level 7-gear Shimano shifter, and shifting up and down is done flawlessly without any issues whatsoever. But I kind of feel that the bike needs more gears. Like when you're riding fast, you do feel the need for more gears. And this actually applies to the Engine Pro that I have behind me as well. And that brings us to that 750 watt motor that we have in the rear wheel. When you first take this bike out of the box, this is locked to 25 kilometers an hour. That's the legal speed limit in many places around the world for electric bikes. But you can easily unlock this, and then it can assist you up to 45 kilometers an hour. This one also gets a throttle here, so if you don't want to pedal at all, you can just accelerate from this throttle here. Now, with this 750 watt motor, you have plenty of power in pretty much any situation. Since we also have a shifter, if you get to a hill, a steep incline basically, you can just lower the gears, and with the motor assistance, you can go up basically any hill. So a lot of power for pretty much any situation, I'm gonna say. So I'm currently in gear number 2. We have Laura filming me there. And as you can see, I am pedaling, well, kind of pedaling. I don't actually have to put any effort, but you can easily go up any hill. And I've been on hills even steeper than this one, so no problems whatsoever going up hills. The battery pack is located in the frame here. The battery pack is also removable, and we also get a key at the bottom of the bike here. So you can lock that battery pack in the bike, and you can also turn on and off the bike with that key. So basically, whenever you're not using the bike, just turn off that key, and then the bike is not gonna start. Now, charging this battery pack takes about 8 hours, and you can charge it in the bike. So we have the charging port right here. Even though I'm not a fan of this charging port, when you put that charger in there, it doesn't really go in that easily or comes out that easily. So I do prefer to remove the battery pack every time I charge it. As for the range, well, the manufacturer says that you can get up to 100 kilometers on one charge. But of course, that will be if you're pedaling and you have the motor assisting you whenever you're pedaling. If you're going on electricity only, you're gonna get about 40-50 kilometers, and of course that will also depend on the speed that you're doing. So yes, you can probably get to that 100 kilometers on one charge that the manufacturer suggests, but you're gonna have to pedal on level assist to maybe not go over 20 kilometers an hour and so on. So it's hard to give you an exact number for the number of kilometers that you're going to be able to get on one charge. It just depends on so many things. It depends if you're going uphill, it depends if you're going on flat surfaces, it depends on the temperature outside, your weight, and so on. Personally, when I ride on electric only, I get about 35 kilometers, and if I ride with assisted pedaling, basically I can get around 70-80 kilometers depending on the speed that I'm doing. Moving on to the lights, so we have a light on the front here. During the day you can't really see that light that well, but at night it will light up the path ahead of you pretty well. And on the back we also have a pretty big light. Another difference that I've noticed between this bike and the Engine Pro, that one has auto lights. So if it gets dark outside, you go into a tunnel, you go into a garage, that one will turn on the lights by itself. With this one, you have to manually turn on the lights. The rear light also acts as a brake light whenever you're pressing the brake levers. And that brings us to the handlebar. So the grips here do seem to move a bit. That's something that doesn't happen on the Engine Pro. On the right hand side here we have the accelerators. So as I said, you can just use this bike just by accelerating here. So very easy to do. Or you can pedal and then the bike will assist you. We have the shifter right here. The brake levers are made out of plastic, and we did talk about the brakes earlier today. We have the bell here. The bell doesn't sound that amazing. We have a few buttons here. So we have the power button, a plus minus, so you can change modes. And then on the side here, we have two more buttons. It is a bit difficult pressing those side buttons, mostly because the bell is just too close to those buttons. But you could open this up and move it a bit to the right. And then in the center, we have the display. The display is visible during daylight basically, so even on a sunny day you're going to be able to see the display. Okay, so let me quickly show you how the bike works. So we basically have the power button right here. I'm not sure if you can see the screen on the camera. So we're gonna go into assistance level 2. So that's how you change modes. So now as soon as you start pedaling, the bike will sense that you're moving and it will assist you. So I'm gonna start pedaling. And you can probably hear the motor already. So as soon as it starts helping you move, basically, you don't really have to put that much effort into pedaling. Now, you can also accelerate to the accelerator, so without pedaling. So to do that, you basically rotate the accelerator here, kind of like on a motorcycle in a way. So I'll show you how that works. So if you don't want to pedal, well, you can go full electric basically. And if you switch the modes up, so you go mode number 3, it will accelerate mode number 4 and so on. So that's how easy it is to ride this bicycle. But if you want to use it in a more conventional way, you basically pedal and the bike will assist you. So for example, when you get to a hill like this, you don't have to put that much effort into pedaling. So that easy to ride this bike. Let me also do a bit of a brake test. So we'll go to about 25 kilometers an hour and we'll brake from here. So yeah, you can definitely stop the bike. Like, the brakes aren't horrible, but they're not the best brakes out there. So that easy to ride this bike. So to quickly conclude this video, for the price, the EP-2 Pro here is pretty much unbeatable. All the other bikes available on the market are a bit more expensive, or maybe about the same price, but they don't offer as much as this one does. This is a pretty comfortable bike, actually one of the most comfortable bikes that I've been on, because of the adjustable in height handlebar, and of course the seat that goes as high as you want. So for the money, it's hard to say that this bike is not great. I mean, sure, the brakes aren't the most amazing out there, and maybe you can upgrade them. But also, if you do spend about 200 bucks more, you could get the Engine Pro that's behind me. And in many ways, the Engine Pro is better. And I believe there is an upgraded version of the Engine Pro as well. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.